Hey, what's up guys? Gons here for the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. This is a repost of yesterday's post, Net Neutrality or Brutality. I did take the video down, and it was because somebody emailed me, and I thank you for the person that did, letting me know that one of the websites that I cited was actually a parody website, and it was actually the NSA website. And even during the whole thing, when I was reading the quote about, secret interpretations of the Patriot Act and stuff like that, I kept looking up at the link, which is nsa.gov1.info. And I thought, this is really too good to be true, but I didn't really do enough thorough digging. The actual NSA website is nsa.gov, not surprising. And at the very bottom of the website, if you look at here, it says this is a parody of nsa.gov and has not been approved, endorsed, or authorized by the NSA or by any other U.S. government agency. So although the information is probably more accurate than the government is willing to admit, the website itself is not legit in terms of it's not the real NSA website. And while I will provide all kinds of opinions and beliefs and even my convictions, especially about Bible prophecy and our Lord Jesus Christ on this channel, one thing I won't do and one thing I will apologize for and retract on is a faulty source. So I apologize for sensationalizing something that probably needed a little more vetting. But that's why you guys are here, to keep me in check, and I appreciate you guys doing that. So the White House did pass the net neutrality vote, and no one has really seen the full 317-page document, detailing the whole thing. And we will just have to see how it all plays out. But what I'm hearing, just looking at different articles and stuff like that, is that internet companies are going to sue over this. So this is long from over. The internet companies themselves are not happy about this. And so we will see how it all plays out. But regardless, I think the bigger implications of this whole thing being a slow move towards a virtual Panopticon from the governmental front, I stand by that. And so that's why here is the video that I made yesterday, edited for accuracy. God bless. Hey, what's up guys? Gons here with another video for the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. I'm sure you will hear about it all day long and the coming days, weeks, and months. Net neutrality. What the heck is it, and why is it important? Now today they're voting on the net neutrality issue, and this is kind of scary, guys, because this could be really the end of open and free internet. Now, the Electronic Frontier Foundation has been an advocate for the FCC to come up with ways to protect the open internet. And now that they've moved forward with it, they're sort of going, well, wait a minute. What are some of the quote unquote general conduct rules that you guys are talking about? And they're sort of expressing concerns about how they're going to go about enforcing some of these things. If you go to the FCC Commission's proposal, they have a fact sheet that was published by the chairman. His name is Chairman Wheeler. And here's what it says right at the beginning. Chairman Wheeler is proposing clear, sustainable, enforceable rules to preserve and protect the open internet as a place for innovation and free expression. Now, what do you mean by enforceable rules? How is it open and free if there are rules that are enforceable? In other words, yeah, it's open and free unless, and who gets to decide those rules? Who gets to determine, what is actually harmful? It's all very vague, and this thing really stinks from the pits of hell. And we were duped with Obamacare already, and Obama's been talking about his concerns for the open and free internet for years, saying that, anyone can go and learn how to make a bomb and be a terrorist. And, it's been in the vernacular of his speeches and stuff for years. And so now they're going, okay, we can lock stuff down. But really, we know that our information is already not safe in terms of data mining, but this is a whole nother thing, because this allows the government to actually censor whoever they determine or define as harmful or a threat or, not preserving an open internet, So if someone comes to this video and says, oh, I think this video is a threat to the open internet, it is potentially harmful for the broadband network provider and their users, they can shut me down. and they can actually go after me, sue me, they can put me in jail, whatever. It's not clear as to the rules that they would enforce. And that's sort of the issue as well, that they're not really telling us what these rules are. And that's really kind of scary. But, again, our internet information has already been compromised in many ways, but this opens up a whole new can of worms. And I think this is leading towards something called a Panopticon, a virtual Panopticon. Now, to understand what a virtual Panopticon is, let me briefly explain what a Panopticon is. A Panopticon is a prison system where the inmates are in individual cells in full view of a central tower which houses a gunman. Now, the watchman and the gunman has full view, 360-degree view of every single inmate in that prison. However, the prisoners in their cells don't know if they're being watched or not. And the idea is that because at any point, the watchman or the gunman can shoot anyone they see as misbehaving or breaking the rules or whatever, it forces all the inmates to more or less comply with whatever rules and regulations that are in place. So if you're talking about a virtual Panopticon, then basically what we're saying is that we would be living in a world that is monitored or governed by this internet, the computer system, that decides for us what the rules are. And if we don't comply, we can be shut down and taken out. Okay, now why this is important for biblical prophecy? Well, obviously, this is leading towards the mark of the beast and the worship of the image of the beast. Think about the system here. If you don't comply, you are basically seen as a threat or breaking the rules or harmful or endangered to society or whatever they want to label you with, and they can shut you down, maybe even kill you. And of course, Revelation 13 talks about that. And everyone's familiar with the mark of the beast passages. Revelation 13, verse really 16 and 17 is the main one about the mark of the beast. Let me read it real quick. It says, quote, "It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name." Now, we've all kind of heard the things about, the image of the beast, the mark of the beast, but let's really think about what that can look like. And we get an example of this actually in Daniel chapter 3. If you go to Daniel chapter 3, it's the section right before Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are thrown into the fiery furnace, but they don't burn, right? Because there was a fourth in there that looked like the Son of Man, which was a pre-incarnate Jesus. But if you read through the golden image and what it represented, it's really kind of interesting because it speaks to pretty much what we're seeing here in our time today. So let me read just a few verses before we wrap it up here. Daniel chapter 3, I'm going to start at verse 2. "The king Nebuchadnezzar sent to gather the satraps, the prefects, and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the justices, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then the satraps, the prefects, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the justices, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces gathered for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up, and the herald proclaimed out loud, 'You are commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, you are to fall down and worship the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And whoever does not fall and worship shall immediately be cast into a burning fiery furnace.' Therefore, as soon as all the people heard the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, all the peoples, nations, and languages fell down and worshipped the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up." In other words, if we translate this into the modern world, into the virtual Panopticon, if you don't bow down and worship to the rules, the regulations, the government, the political system that is put in place, that will be put in place even further as the beast system is deployed, then you will be thrown into the fiery furnace. And what we're seeing now with quote unquote net neutrality is a huge stepping stone into that kind of world, where if you don't comply, or if they think that you don't comply, you can be thrown in to the fiery furnace, which is equivalent to being killed, or at the very least, they can put you in jail, and if you want to fight it, you can. But how many of us have the resources financially and everything else to fight the government for years and years, because they can stretch this thing out forever. Now, let me go back to the EFF article or letter that they sent and read for you this final paragraph that they state here. There are several problems with this approach, and this approach that they're talking about is this sort of general conduct rule. First, it suggests that the FCC believes it has broad authority to pursue any number of practices, hardly the narrow light touch approach we need to protect the open internet. Second, we worry that this rule will be extremely expensive in practice because anyone wanting to bring a complaint will be hard-pressed to predict whether they will succeed. For example, how will the commission determine industry best standard and practices? As a practical matter, it is likely that only companies that can afford years of litigation to answer these questions will be able to rely on the rule at all. Third, a multi-factor test gives the FCC an awful lot of discretion, potentially giving an unfair advantage to parties with insider influence. And so they're voting on it today, but look out for that general conduct proposal, because in the same way that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't comply and worship the image and they were, cast into the fiery furnace, the same sort of thing can happen where, okay, you're not abiding to our rules, we are going to go after you. But the thing to keep in mind is that even Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, because they didn't comply, they were thrown into the fiery furnace, but they didn't burn. And that's really the main point here, guys. Once it gets to this point, even if we don't comply, it doesn't matter because God will protect us. But even if we do burn, we would be the martyrs that the book of Revelation speaks about. And our destination is secure. So keep that in mind. Be watchful, spread this information with especially people in the church, because a lot of people in the church don't know what's going on and they need to wake up to what's happening. So that's all for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. God bless.